Twins don't share credit scores. How my parents let my brother ruin my financial life. Hi everyone. Today's story is pretty unbelievable. But real quick, if you enjoy this kind of content, hit that subscribe button. The channel's been a little quiet lately, and your support helps keep things going. Let's jump in. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I recently found out that my financial life has been completely derailed, all because of my twin brother's actions, with full support from our parents. Yes, really, they somehow believed that twins share credit scores. This whole nightmare started last month when I applied for a new apartment. I have a stable job in software development, make decent money, and I've always been responsible with finances. I've never missed a bill and barely use credit cards. So when the apartment manager called me in with a serious look, I was confused. "I'm sorry, Mr. Thomas, but we can't approve your application," he said, sliding a credit report across the desk. "Your credit score is 480, and there are multiple accounts in collections." I stared at the paper, completely shocked. There were credit cards I never applied for, loans I never took out, and even a repossessed car. According to this report, I had nearly $40,000 in debt, and multiple severely overdue accounts. I insisted there must be some mistake. "This isn't mine. I've never even owned a car," I said. But the manager gave me that look people give when they think you're lying. "I understand this is frustrating, but we can't make exceptions. Try again once your financial situation improves." I left in a daze, and immediately pulled my own credit reports. What I saw was devastating. My credit score, which I'd never closely monitored, because I thought I had nothing to worry about, was in ruins. There were accounts going back years that I knew nothing about. My first thought was identity theft. But something didn't add up. How could someone open so many accounts in my name, without me getting a single notification? I called my twin brother, Michael. We look identical but couldn't be more different when it comes to money. I save and plan. Michael has always been impulsive with spending. We were close growing up but drifted apart after college, mostly because he'd constantly borrow and not repay. "Hey James, what's up?" he answered casually. "Michael, did you open any accounts using my information?" I asked directly. There was a pause. That pause told me everything. "Look, it's not a big deal," he finally said. "Mom and Dad said it would be fine since we're twins. They said our credit is basically the same." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "They gave me your social security card and birth certificate a while ago, when I needed to open some accounts. They said since we're identical twins, it doesn't really matter, it all balances out." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My parents had given my brother my personal documents, and genuinely believed that twins share credit scores. I hung up and immediately called my parents, hoping there was some kind of misunderstanding. Instead, my mom confirmed everything. "Honey, you've always been so responsible with money, and Michael's had a harder time," she said, as if that explained it. "We thought this would help him get on his feet. You're twins, it's practically the same person anyway." I was speechless. My own parents had been giving my information to someone else for years, based on a completely false belief about how credit works. "Michael has ruined my credit score. I just got denied housing because of this," I said. "Don't be so dramatic," my dad chimed in. "Just use Michael's information for a while, until things even out." I hung up, my hands shaking from anger and disbelief. My entire family had treated my financial identity like shared property, to be used however they saw fit. Now I'm staying with a friend while trying to clean up this mess. I've already contacted the credit bureaus to report fraud, but it's complicated because it involves family members. I've consulted with a lawyer who specializes in identity cases, but honestly I'm still processing the fact that the people closest to me saw nothing wrong with what they did. Update: the damage is worse than I thought. It's been 2 weeks since I first posted, and I want to thank everyone who offered advice and support. Many of you told me to treat this seriously, even though it involves family, and you were absolutely right. After talking to my lawyer, I filed a police report. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, knowing it could lead to serious consequences for my twin, but I had no choice. At first, the officer seemed unsure. Apparently, they deal with people trying to avoid responsibility for debt all the time. But once I laid out the documents, it became clear. With my lawyer's help, I pulled detailed credit reports from all 3 bureaus, and what we found was staggering. Over the past 7 years, Michael had opened 12 credit cards in my name, taken out a $25,000 loan, financed a car that was later repossessed, racked up over $15,000 in medical debt, defaulted on a rental agreement, and had multiple accounts sent to collection. In total, over $70,000 in debt was tied to my name, not $40,000 like I originally thought. Some of the accounts went back to when we were just 22 right after college. My lawyer explained that the statute of limitations could complicate things. Older accounts are harder to dispute, and since my parents freely admitted they gave him my documents, proving I never agreed to this is a legal challenge. I've spent countless hours on the phone with credit bureaus and lenders, filing fraud reports and trying to clear my record. Many of them require a police report and signed affidavits for each individual account. It's exhausting. The most shocking moment came when I confronted Michael again. I thought maybe he'd feel bad. Instead, he got defensive. "You've always had it so easy," he said. "Perfect grades, perfect job, perfect credit. Twins don't share credit scores. Update. Legal fallout and family breakdown." So I confronted Michael again. I told him I filed a police report, and he panicked. He immediately called our parents, and within the hour my phone was blowing up with calls and texts. My parents were furious, not with him, but with me. They accused me of trying to ruin Michael's life over some money issue. "We're family," my mom kept saying. "You don't involve the police in family matters." But what they still don't get is this isn't just some money issue. This is years of intentional fraud that has completely wrecked my life. I'm still living with a friend because no apartment will approve me. My car loan application? Denied. I'm terrified this will affect future job opportunities. Because yes, employers do check credit. And now, my parents and Michael have come up with a solution. Michael will start paying off the debt when he can, but they expect me to keep sharing the burden. Because, and I quote, "That's what family does." They still don't see this as fraud. In their minds it was just family helping family. They don't even think the accounts should be removed from my credit report. My lawyer says we'll keep pressing the fraud claims with creditors, and may need to sue Michael directly for the damage. He's also recommending a court order to stop my family from accessing any of my personal information ever again. The hardest part? They truly genuinely believe they've done nothing wrong. They keep saying things like blood is thicker than water, and family shares everything. But this has made one thing very clear. There may be no saving these relationships. And that's a grief I wasn't prepared for. Since then, I've changed all my passwords, updated my address with every institution, placed credit freezes, fraud alerts, and I'm in the process of applying for a new social security number. Yeah, it's that serious. Update. 2. Legal progress in family fallout. It's been about a month, and things have escalated. First, the legal side. My lawyer, amazing. We sent formal fraud notification letters to every creditor, backed with the police report. And finally, about half of the fraudulent accounts have been removed from my credit report. The rest are still under investigation, but we're making real progress. Then came the breakthrough. We got access to text messages between my brother and my parents. In them, they openly discussed using my identity for Michael's financial needs. He didn't even bother deleting them. When the detective confronted him with this, he confessed everything. Michael has now been formally charged with identity theft and credit card fraud. My parents, not charged yet, but they are being investigated as accessories, because they knowingly handed over my documents. The family fallout. The second Michael was charged, my parents went from begging me to keep it in the family, to full-on hostility. They've been telling extended family that I'm a vindictive twin, trying to ruin Michael's life out of jealousy. The result? The family is split. Some understand how serious this is. Others think I should have just found another way without legal action. My Aunt Patricia called me last week. She had only heard my parents' version of events, that I was overreacting to Michael borrowing my identity for a few small loans. Then I showed her my credit report, the $70,000 in delinquent debt, and the texts where my parents and brother casually discussed using my identity. She was horrified. She's now one of the only family members still supporting me. The most surreal moment of all, a court-ordered mediation session. Michael proposed that since he once gave me the idea to go into software development, because we took one computer class together in high school, I owed him. He actually said the debt should count as compensation for his intellectual contribution to my career. Even the mediator was stunned. And my parents? Still clinging to this insane belief that twins share credit. They showed up to the mediation with baby photos and our birth certificates, as if proving we're twins would magically erase the fraud. When the mediator explained, yet again, that twins are legally separate individuals, my mom argued. She literally said, "The system doesn't understand how twins work." The one piece of good news? The credit bureaus are finally cooperating. Thanks to the police report and the formal charges, more fraudulent accounts are being removed. My credit score has gone from 480 to 5 and still terrible, but at least it's improving. I'm also getting support from a victim's advocate through the county prosecutor's office. They helped me secure emergency housing until my credit improves enough for me to live independently again. As for Michael, his lawyer has reached out to mine about a possible plea deal. It would involve restitution payments. But realistically, with his unstable work history, full repayment might take a decade, if it happens at all. Meanwhile, my parents have started telling people that Update 3, Court Proceedings and Credit Recovery. My parents are now telling people that I've always been jealous of Michael, that I'm just trying to punish him because he's more sociable and popular. It's a complete rewriting of history that ignores the actual crime that was committed. Some relatives believe them. I've been blocked on social media by cousins and extended family who only heard their side of the story. The emotional toll has been enormous. I've started seeing a therapist to cope with the betrayal and the grief. It's like mourning the death of the family I thought I had, while simultaneously fighting off the toxic reality of the one I actually have. Right now I'm focused on rebuilding my financial life and establishing boundaries to protect myself going forward. My lawyer believes we'll have resolution on most of the credit issues within 6 months, though some of the older debts may still cause issues. Update 4, Court Outcome and Financial Progress. It's been 3 months since my last update, and a lot has happened. Michael's criminal case is officially over. He accepted a plea deal for felony identity theft, 18 months suspended sentence. The court set minimum monthly payments at that rate, it'll take over 12 years to pay everything off, assuming he never misses a payment. During sentencing, the judge was harsh. He called it a special kind of betrayal, identity theft against a family member. Michael appeared remorseful in court, but my lawyer suspects that was more about avoiding jail time than any real regret. As for my parents, they weren't charged, but the judge didn't let them off easy. He publicly rebuked them during sentencing, saying the court finds it deeply disturbing that the defendant's parents not only facilitated this fraud but continue to justify it under the scientifically and legally baseless notion that identical twins share financial identity. This belief, however genuinely held, does not excuse the very real damage done to the victim. The prosecutor also warned my parents that any further attempt to share my personal information with Michael would result in criminal charges against them. Credit recovery. The good news, my credit situation has made real progress. Thanks to the criminal case documents, my lawyer's persistence, ongoing contact with creditors, we've now had about 80% of the fraudulent accounts removed from my credit report. My credit score has improved from 5, still below average, but good enough that I finally secured an apartment last month. I had to pay a slightly higher security deposit, but I'm finally on my own again. Unfortunately, 2 older fraudulent accounts are still being contested. Those creditors argue the statute of limitations for reporting fraud has expired. My lawyer's confident we'll win eventually, but it's incredibly frustrating to still have these black marks. Family situation. My parents have made half-hearted attempts at reconciliation, but always with strings attached. They want me to drop the restitution against Michael because he's family and he's struggling. They still don't grasp the severity of what happened. They still think this is just a family dispute, not a felony that nearly destroyed my life. Michael has made the first 3 restitution payments on time, which is something, I guess. But my lawyer warned me not to count on that last. The court has garnishment procedures ready in case he stops paying. I've had long conversations with my therapist about whether to keep any connection with my family at all. For now, I'm keeping minimal contact, and only with strict boundaries. I've made it clear, any attempt to pressure me into dropping restitution, or any suggestion that this wasn't fraud, will result in permanent estrangement. Update 4, continued. 1 year later, financial recovery and final family decisions. When my mom said, "Everything worked out fine. Your credit recovered, and now you have a nice car. I don't know why you had to make such a fuss about Michael using your information." That was the moment I knew I couldn't keep pretending things might go back to normal. To her it was just a fuss, a minor inconvenience, not the months I spent fighting to reclaim my identity, not the years it will take Michael to repay what he stole, not the therapist bills, the lost trust, or the fact that I was the victim of a felony. That comment was a breaking point. I left the dinner early. Later I told my therapist that it felt like grieving a second time, but this time with clarity. I'm not just grieving the family I lost. I'm accepting that they may never have truly been who I thought they were. Where I am now. My credit score is 7, all but one fraudulent account has been removed, and we're in the final stages of that litigation. I've rebuilt my finances with 2 credit cards, a growing emergency fund, and a recent auto loan at a fair interest rate. My employer continues to support me, offering credit monitoring and legal guidance when needed. The Identity Theft Protection Service has already blocked 2 attempts, which I suspect were from my parents to access my credit report. As for Michael, after missing 2 payments, the court activated wage garnishment. So far he's paid back around $7,500 of the $72. Family ties. Recut. I've made a final decision. I maintain very limited contact with my parents and Michael. We speak maybe once every 2 months, and only under strict boundaries. My parents have stopped outright defending what Michael did, but they still drop hints that I overreacted. I've come to accept they may never truly get it, and that's not my responsibility anymore. The most healing choice I've made this year is focusing on building a chosen family, friends who respect me, people who understand boundary, people who know that your identity, financial, emotional, and personal is yours alone. This will likely be my last major update, unless something dramatic changes. If you're going through something similar, whether it's identity theft or a betrayal by someone close, please know that recovery is possible. It's not fast, it's not easy, but it can be done, and you get to define what your future looks like from here. Final update. 1 year later, recovery, boundaries, and clarity. At that family dinner, when my mom said, "Everything worked out fine. Your credit recovered, and now you have a nice car. I don't know why you had to make such a fuss about Michael using your information." It hit me just how deep the disconnect still was. I pointed out that my credit only recovered because I took legal action, because I spent over a year of my life fighting tooth and nail to fix what Michael did. But she waved it off. Family borrowing from family isn't stealing. She said, "You've always been so rigid about your things, even as a child." That was it. That was the moment I understood. They still fundamentally believe that my identity, my resources, and my financial life are somehow communal family property. They've stopped actively facilitating fraud, sure, but only because they were forced to, not because they understand why it was wrong. Michael, contradictions in counseling. Michael has been complicated. Sometimes, he shows what seems like genuine remorse, especially after court-mandated financial counseling. He's admitted he hurt me. He's stopped suggesting that I should just absorb the debt, but it's inconsistent. He'll follow that up with complaints about how easy my life has been compared to his, about how the restitution payments are crushing him financially, as if I'm the reason for his hardship, not his action. He swings between acceptance and resentment, and I no longer feel responsible for managing his emotions. Why I chose limited contact. A lot of people, friends, coworkers, even my therapist at one point, have asked why I didn't just cut them off entirely. Honestly, I thought about it. I still do, sometimes. But for now, limited contact feels like the right balance. It protects me from further harm, while leaving the door slightly open, not for reconciliation necessarily, but for accountability, for genuine change, if it ever comes. I've set hard boundaries, no discussions about reducing restitution, no attempts to access my financial records, no framing Michael's actions as anything less than theft. Any violation of these will mean immediate and permanent termination of contact. No more warnings, no more explanation. The silver linings. This whole ordeal didn't just show me who to walk away from, it also showed me who to hold close. My Aunt Patricia has become something of a surrogate parent, supportive, respectful, and grounded in reality. Several cousins reached out to explicitly reject the toxic dynamics that enabled the identity theft. My friend William, who let me crash on his couch during the worst of it, is now like a brother, the kind of brother who believes that respecting someone's boundaries is the foundation of love, not a burden. And professionally, I've thrived. The discipline and clarity I had to build while navigating this crisis spilled over into my career. I got a major promotion 6 months ago, and now lead a development team. The real takeaway. If there's one thing I want people to take from this, it's this. Protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary, especially when the harm comes from inside the house, from the people who were supposed to love you. I've learned to be more vigilant about my personal information, more assertive about my boundary, and more certain than ever that my identity, financial and otherwise, belongs to me. To everyone who's followed my story, offered advice, or just listened, thank you. Your support helped me through something I wouldn't wish on anyone. And if you're in the early stages of dealing with something similar, maybe even at the hands of family, please know this. You are not overreacting. You are not being dramatic. You are allowed to protect yourself, even from people who share your DNA. Unless something major changes, this will be my final update. My finances are recovering. My future is mine again. And I'm moving forward with a clearer understanding of who I am and what I deserve.